I've tried to describe what we do for a living as almost like having a really deep conversation with a stranger, but it's kind of our jobs to make people feel comfortable to do so. And like,
Right.
I not that honestly, most of the time when I interview people, it's over the phone, so I can't even say that my like cartoonish appearance is part of my arsenal, but like it definitely helps if we're in person, I think. But do you have ways that you try to approach the interview process to just like kind of bring that wall down a little bit, or do you even think
Yeah,
about it
yeah.
anymore?
I think that if you kind of like go into it with really regulated energy of just like, hey, hi, we're here, everything's normal.
Yeah.
This is fine.
You're not
I'm just,
uncomfortable at all. You
you
will
might as
tell
well
me
be in the
everything.
grocery store, man. Like, we're just gonna have a human to human chat, and there's nothing unusual about this, like, very, when you think about it, unusual situation that we currently find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, being face to face in person is the best, but I always like to do it on Zoom when I can because being able to see somebody and see their reactions and see that they're really listening to you, I think helps put people at ease. Making eye contact, being kind of, like exactly
Us right now.
being right now. Being in a position to be able to be reactionary, and having a real conversation versus like Q A. Obviously, you have the questions that you want to get through, and I always have, usually just to the side, like the things that are written down, where it's like if shit hits the fan, we'll just like go to the questions,
Yeah.
get this done, and get out of here. But that to me is just a foundation to have a conversation around, and I weave the questions through, but it's not like we're sticking to these points and these points only. Like, let's just talk like real people.
I completely agree. That's one of my favorite like journalism advice points to give people if they're new to interviewing. It's like you're going to have your questions written down. Of course, you need a roadmap, but it's like talking to a person at a party. And I feel like in the music journalism space, that analogy makes so much sense because we've all had a million party conversations with like a stranger in a bathroom line or somebody over while you're getting a drink. And it's like, okay, if you can pull off those conversations, you can pull off a conversation with an interview. Just
Yeah.
allow yourself to actually follow the flow of the conversation, because there's nothing worse than watching an interview or even reading one if it's a Q&A or something, and it's like the artist says something really interesting, and maybe with our journalism brains or just like people brains, you want to follow up on that or ask more, and then they just go, okay, and also this question that's like completely unrelated. I'm always like, don't
Totally.
do that.
Totally. I always try to sit there and think, what do I actually want to know? Because I think that as journalists, sometimes it's like, these are the things that I'm supposed to ask. And like, yeah, we often need to ask that stuff, but it's like, if you kind of like sink a little bit deeper in the thinking of like, on a human level, what am I actually curious about with this person? And then go there. And then, I mean, I think that maybe you feel this way too. I have pretty good memory recall. And so
Sometimes.
I I'm often able to be like, this person said that 3 minutes ago, and let's come back around to it. And I can do a pretty good organization in my head while the conversation is happening. And I look like I'm just sitting here speaking to you, and I am, but there's also some like dials turning up here simultaneously. Yeah. And that's a skill that you obviously have as well.
Okay, that part though.